All right, Max, I got a question for you today.
Shoot it.
Tell me some additional reasons why we might not make, well, why other people might not be making deep runs in tournaments.
Well, I'll tell you what, Wes. One reason why I don't run deep in tournaments is because I play at Canterbury cards and I just run bad there.
Isn't it bizarre? Like I I run in the main events there, just slaughtering them. I
Yeah.
mean, like last night I did play the 250 daily and I fired 3 bullets and I won 1.5 total pots. So like that's one thing, but no, it's true that I run amazing there,
Wes, let me
and
pause you real quick. You asked me what some reasons what we're going to be discussing today and why others haven't aren't making deep runs. And well, one of them is because of overconfidence after a few wins.
yeah, that
um,
okay, that actually winner's tilt though, that
Winner's tilt's going to be one of the conversations, which I feel like you're experiencing to the fullest extent right now.
no, no,
I'm
no,
just kidding. I know you've been
yeah,
level-headed. I mean, it's okay for you to also, I mean, facts. You've over the last five main events at Canterbury, you've absolutely annihilated it. So that's just the truth. So I don't think that's affecting your play negatively. But some topics today that I wanted to bring up on why I think others, including myself, maybe things that I've worked on, but have also stopped me from making deep runs. There's a few different ones. One of them is, and this one's actually huge. And one of the first things that I try and work on is I would say that why blaming luck blocks improvement.
yeah, that's a good way, and the way I had been thinking about it is, like in fact, I think I had it in my notes, like, if you might not be making deep runs if you tell too many bad beat stories, right? Because it's like, those happen to everyone, but if you are done with a tournament and your takeaway is like that's the main thing to talk about is the hands that got you short and then the hand that busted you or where you got coolered for a huge stack like
Yeah. Yeah. And
it's certainly true that that's probably why you didn't make a run that tournament, but
but it's also
focusing
important
on
to
that.
realize that there's a lot of times people will just overlook the things they could have done differently and straight blame it on luck. Whereas say for example, they opened 7-6 suited in early position off a shorter stack, like 20 bigs or something like that.
Mhm.
And then they flopped a flush draw and got it in and didn't hit the flush draw and got there. Well, and then they're like, well, what else am I supposed to do? Right. I didn't get lucky. I didn't hit my flush. I didn't double up there. Well, the truth is you shouldn't be opening 7-6 suited from early position off 20 big blinds. So it's like
That's a good point, yeah.
take a step back and don't just blame the result, but look at what options you made during that hand and then see if there's any changes you could have made during that. And that was just an off the topic explanation, but I feel like there's infinite different hands. And there's been so many times where I'm at a tournament and I hear people, whether they come up to me and tell me or go up to their friend that's sitting next to me and just say, "Oh, I'm out," and then tell a bad beat story, and then it's like something just completely egregious where they
Yeah.
they cold called a three bet with King Jack O or something from out of position and flop top pair, and then just had to put the rest of their chips in. That's again just off the top, but
I have a very quick funny story that from
please.
when my buddy and I studied abroad, we would play like 1-1 no limit pounds. It was in England. So there's this guy who he was in our class, but he also played some poker too, and he was a disaster. Like it was funny though. He was telling this story about how he missed his royal flush draw, right? And he was playing 1-1, and he's like, and he had a different. He was from somewhere else initially too. So his accent, I don't know. Maybe I won't try and do his accent, but basically the story was he has king queen of diamonds, he raises the 25 and then someone goes all in. So for 100, someone puts him in for 100 and he's like, I called it off, risky call, but and I'm up against ace king, I think it was, or ace queen, and it came like ace jack X with 2 diamonds, so he flopped a royal flush draw and then bricked out.
Okay.
And his takeaway was, "Oh man, like I bricked my flush draw." Like it was, I don't even know if he was making that point, but that was the focal point of the story, like, I flopped a royal flush draw. I'm like, "Hang on, you raised the 25 at 1-1?
Yeah.
Like, am I missing something here? Was there a straddle and, like, 5 limps? And then also you got in 100 bigs with king, queen of diamonds, like, you know, so that
So,
we
I mean,
still
I've
talk."
done worse than that, let's be real, especially
Right,
in a
yeah,
made-up game. No, I'm just joking.
but the point remains, it's like, how did that and, I didn't really he wasn't telling the story to try and improve his game, so I didn't bring that up to him, but it was
That's a
like,
great point. I think telling your story, instead of just trying to get sympathy from your friends, telling a bad beat story, try to gain insight. When telling or hearing one of these stories, I think one of the most important things you can do as the person telling the story or as a friend listening, um, is give critical feedback. And even if it hurts their feelings, like, and don't just do it to, don't give critical feedback if it's not actually helpful. You know what I mean? But like, if you really truly see like something they could have potentially done wrong, make sure to make it apparent that they could have maybe changed this and the result would have been different. Yeah, I just think it's important to look over all of the aspects of the hand instead of again just blaming luck. And
mhm,
and don't get me wrong, I've been guilty over that, and it's something that you can get better at over time by little working on it, just like everything else in your poker game. Just take that hand, realize if there was any, you obviously got cooler, but is there any other spot in that hand where you could have made a different play, or just maybe not even been in the hand? You know what I mean?
yeah, and on the flip side, I think and I have another very good example of this. It was actually from the tag team tournament recently. There's a hand where there were a couple limps, and then someone made a big raise, and then the big blind went all in for it was around 25 big blinds, got called by the player who made the big raise,
Yeah.
who had aces. Big blind had queens. Big blind was out of the tournament. His partner came over, and then as they were leaving, he explained the hand, and his partner was saying like, "Why not just call pre-flop and see a flop?" And,
I was
you
like,
know,
wait, I was wondering your
the
point here
idea
because I'm like, this, he sounds like he played it great.
right, and the point was like, maybe you can get away. Like his partner was saying, like, describing it in a way where he's like, "You could have gotten away on the turn." I don't know.
Well, I think that makes a great point as well. It's like also be critical of the feedback you're getting from players. This is why it's important to hang out with people that you think are better than you are, that are good players, because you might get information that actually hurts you. For example, like, why didn't you call? This is a great example of being critical of the feedback you're getting, because as you were saying, I'm like, what? Why is he even telling this story? This is played greatly, but now it makes sense. It's
Yeah,
like he got feedback from his friend on how he could have played different. Well, in this case, I think that's the optimal way to play it. Squeeze
yeah,
20,
and
25 bigs with queens, that's a slam dunk.
it's a slam dunk, and it's one of the examples of being too results oriented. Where I've heard this from people too, and I think we see it plenty of times where someone's post their bust out hand, and you're like, I mean, okay, you got just cooler to know you're not folding ace king for 30 big blinds, like, and I think there's a certain it's kind of a good thing to be, looking at these spots and wondering what could I do different here, but a lot of times focusing on the bust out hand might not be the focus,
Yeah. Yeah.
and someone who is trying to improve is gonna want to be take responsibility for their play and question it,
The
but
true way to get better is by doing that.
and it is, yeah. It's just recognizing that, you aren't in nearly as much control of the outcome as
Yeah.
you think. Like here with queens, there's no world where you just call and then on an 8 high flop, you call one street and then fold on the 10 turn, which is what I think it was like 8-4 deuce 10, like a 6 run out. And it's like you're never gonna have so much control over the situation where you can just call for like a quarter of your stack pre with
And
queens.
then and then potentially get called with by three other callers, get a king high flop and then fold. What like I, I don't
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
it just
I think it's also very important to check your ego at the door when these situations arise. This is something that I struggled with a lot over my poker career. And again, something that you work at, let me explain, is that like being open to information. Like I know, for example, you have been critical of some hands that I've given you. I don't have like a specific one in the moment, but I will run hands by you and you will be like, "What were you doing here?" And then I'll immediately get a little defensive and I'll be like, "Well, I'll try and justify it even if it's not justifiable." And then after some time away from being in the moment and letting my ego cool off, I'll be like, he's right. Like, I need to. And then as you continue to do that, you can just be more responsive in the moment, not have to take that time away to really reflect. But yeah, checking your ego at the door is super crucial to improving your game. Um,
mhm.
yeah. So that was the kind of the point on that.
Totally. Yeah, and same with me, when I look back on the online hands. Some of them I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I love this," and some of them I'm like, "Whoa, why the hell did I do that?" And, I'm like, "What mindset was I in where I folded this on the river? Like, just a punt, or how did I get?"
For me, it's the opposite. It's like, what mindset was I in to call on the river or to jam?
Yeah.
That's probably the puntier way. Folding's probably the better
Yeah,
option.
I mean, it can go both ways for sure, but or maybe I'll see sometimes I was in just had a nitty streak of hands, and then sometimes I'll have a streak of hands where it's like, maybe I'm maybe it's too blasty or whatever, and it is sort of interesting. Yeah, just staying level and, like you said, checking your ego,
It's such an
doing
ego-centric game, it's hard to do sometimes, and everybody thinks they're truly the best, you know what I mean? Like, it's very silly. Maybe not truly the best, but, like, most people
able to
over.
compete with anyone they're playing with pretty much.
Yeah, it's such a crazy game where you feel like you can just be better than everyone at your table. You feel that way, I feel that way, but the funny part is everyone at our table feels that way for the most part. Obviously, it's not always, there's exceptions, but it just kinda
Yeah.
generally seems to be that way. So, yeah,
Yeah, I think, God, I had one more decent point on,
grab it, you have it.
I know.
Do
I
you need
might
me
have
to
lost it.
download your newest software? Will that help?
Yeah, no, I need an update. Damn,
If you remember,
I'm overdue
we'll
for an
come
update.
if you remember it, we'll come back to it. But so yeah, essentially blaming luck blocks improvement. It's important to remember that.
I
Obviously,
remembered it. I
yeah.
remembered it.
What is it?
I've found that I play way better when I don't feel like I'm competing directly against other people, and when instead I am just
Mhm.
competing. I'm trying to make good decisions in the moment, but
Dude, so
it's
true.
not like super confrontational,
You're your biggest opponent. Yeah, just like try,
is yourself.
have it. Yeah, exactly. Like knowing the right play and then going against it, like or just like Um, yeah, I think that's a great point. Is instead of trying to battle, obviously you have to make plays based on your opponent's tendencies and things like that. But like, yeah, just
Yeah,
being
but
realistic with yourself.
a lot of times if you've lost a pot to the same player at the table a few times now, then it can sort of start to feel
Oh,
personal.
oh, it
It
does.
feels
It does.
personal for the person losing it.
Like you're
The
getting it. I
person
mean,
winning
getting.
is just, like, doing their thing usually.
Oh man, so many times where I'm like, if I were to see this person on the parking lot, I would flick them off behind my back.
"Oh, Mr. Tough Guy here.
Oh,
I'm
sorry
gonna
if that was
say
loud.
mean things to someone when they leave the table."
Oh man. Okay, so the second reason you're not running deep in tournaments is not adjusting to stack depths. We've discussed this
Mhm.
so many
Yep.
times over many, many, many episodes. If you haven't gone over our different big blind depth strategy episodes, we have 20 big blinds, 30 big blinds, 40 big blinds, but I had to take a big breath there. Your strategy changes constantly in a poker tournament. You don't just go in with a strategy and then you stick to that. You need to, it's a good way to word it is your stack equals your strategy. So as your stack changes, your strategy will change, right? So being able to adjust. And then with that, kind of on top of that point is one thing I noticed that a lot of players don't do is they aren't able to find non all in three bets under 30 big blind stacks, which I think is also important to help. Do
Mm.
you agree with that?
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I'm
I mean, to your
I'm not
first
saying
point,
being frequent with it, but I think that you need to be able to do that stuff, and that's something
yeah.
I've been implementing more regularly into my games. Three bet fold type hands,
Yeah.
or non fold hands as well, but balancing those out.
Yeah. And especially how those hands kind of change, like something like ace 10 off or ace jack off, depending on what position you're in, or
Yeah,
like a ace 7 suited.
yeah.
These might be hands that off of 30 or 27 bigs, you three bet with a full intention of folding to a shove.
Yep, yeah. And then knowing, as our stacks get more shallow, is our three bet sizings they need to get smaller.
Mhm.
Compared to when we're being big, have a bigger stack, our sizings can be bigger. But for example, we have cutoff. We'll say hijack opens. They have 35 bigs. We have 24 bigs in the cutoff with ace five of hearts. So we're the next position over after hijack. They opened to two. Um, I three bet to five off my 23 bigs, leaving me 18. And my plan is to fold a few jams.
Totally.
But I think a lot of people will get caught up where they're like, I three bet this and they just end up calling off with something like ace five. This exact scenario I know we've discussed in the past, but just an example, like being able to, three bet on shorter stacks without the intention of getting it all in. Um,
Yeah.
you're going to be able to build stacks more by three betting more. So it's just
Totally. Totally. And shut up.
uh,
On the reverse side, I've actually noticed people when they're deeper, they three bet too small, which is interesting. And it's totally a tournament thing too. Maybe it's not, but yeah, people will sometimes three bet too small where I'll notice someone opens to 2.5x and then a player in position will three bet to like 5.8 or 6 bigs,
mhm.
where I would go more like 8 bigs if we're 100 deep, or 7.5 if they're 40 bigs deep, something like that. Just I've noticed three bet sizings that don't really give you fold equity. However, I think also maybe not exactly your point, but very similar is early in tournaments, I feel like people just don't fold to pre-flop aggression,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
I agree with that. Yes, I do agree with that. I think yes, I do agree with that. And well, let me
Yeah,
ask you,
maybe
do you
maybe I kinda got us away from the point, but
well, no, no, I think that agrees. I mean, it's funny you mentioned that because my third point was going to be aligned with that. But maybe
mhm.
my third point is wrong and maybe it should be the opposite. You tell me what your thoughts are on this. But do you think it's more ideal to play tight early and loose late or vice versa?
I think it's better to play tight early, and I think people tend to do the opposite. And
Yes.
maybe not play loose late, but still play tight, but very aggressive, you
Yeah,
know?
I think the important note to take away from that is that the reason you want to be, not as tight later is because the value of each pot you take down is significantly more valuable than it is in an early stage of a tournament.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah, like a good example is I did make tight folds a couple weeks ago with jacks
yeah,
late in
we
the
mentioned
tournament, but
that.
that was when someone three bet, when there was additional aggression. You're right. Yeah, you wanna take down more pots late,
Mhm.
and I think that's the time in the tournament when people do fold to three bets, and you'll see people just really get attached to their stack more, and so you can find these little at like your ace five suited spot. If we were, let's say we had just gotten short early and we had 24 bigs, but the average stack was still like 50. Maybe in a live tournament, we just flat the ace five suited or something. But if we're later in, I think absolutely we put in that three bet to five big
Yeah,
blinds.
try and just scoop yeah, I think, like, that's a great example. You saying, like, later in the tournament when the pots yeah, when the average big
Yeah, yeah.
blind is
When
much
the money is more, whether it's close to the bubble or closer to a final table, something like that.
no, I think that's a great point, yep. something to do definitely, later on in the tournament. My next point I wanted to bring up, and this one, I've tried to take this, this approach many times, and it doesn't work out. It works for some people, but I've learned it only works for people who've really dialed in this approach. For example, if anyone's familiar with Minnesota's Crazy Carl, he's an absolute crusher, but I mean, he has the name Crazy Carl for a reason, right?
Yeah.
He tries to outplay everybody all the time.
Mhm.
Just pure aggression, pure power poker, always trying to outplay you. We call this the hero complex, right? Is just trying to outplay everyone. I think if you're not good at if you're this is something that needs to be really dialed in over tons and tons and tons of practice, and people think they're better than they are, so they're oftentimes just going to be punting by trying to outplay people.
Yeah.
You agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. But yeah, the hero complex. Quit trying to outplay everybody. You're going to end up punting too frequently.
Yeah.
And
Maybe
that
maybe switch the mindset to outplaying can it doesn't mean bluffing them every time, it also means folding a
Yeah,
decent amount.
exactly. I think that's a great point. Is like when like for example, when you folded your jacks,
Mhm.
and he showed aces, you outplayed him by folding there with your jacks to a
Yes,
single
yeah.
three bet. So it's a great point. It doesn't just come in outplaying isn't just getting them to fold. So and on aligned with that is mistakes in poker, letting one mistake snowball into more, and that happens frequently when you're trying to do the hero complex. You know what I'm saying? So you make a bad call pre-flop. So say you get say you open king 10-0 from late position and small blind three bets you rather large, and then you call. Um,
Mhm.
and then you get the ace 10-4 flop, and
So you gotta call
yeah,
30% on flop
you got a
and
call, and right. So all of a sudden, this one mistake you made pre-flop is now going to compound into multiple big blinds being lost because you didn't make the proper play in the first spot. So sometimes it's okay if you realize, and this might seem crazy and it might be punty in some senses, but if you do flop a pair here in this case, but it's against the tightest opponent who's just never bluffing, like sometimes you just stop the bleeding there and just make a fold and just move on to the next spot.
yeah.
Don't
Yeah,
compound
and
your
then
mistakes. Compound. Anyways,
yeah. I totally agree with that point of you don't just wanna always try and outplay. Because yeah, when you call someone here I forgot if I said it on the podcast. Maybe not. Well, I'm gonna say it this way is like, okay, you're making this bad call in position with king 10 off, called this 3 bet in a spot where you're just not gonna be in good shape against your opponent's range. You're doing so because you think you can outplay them post flop. Well, and it's like, well, you've already given yourself a hole by calling with a hand that's theoretically losing a decent amount over time here.
mhm.
So you've already started by outplaying yourself here. What if you outplayed them pre-flop by making a correct fold? Not even outplay, but what if you just, made a correct fold pre-flop? Because yeah, like if you think you're gonna outplay them post, it's like, okay, what does that really look like? It means you are going to let's say you flop a gutter, you can float them, and then you think they'll be very face up, and you can get them off of their ace king and ace queen. Like, what does that really look like? And even if you can do that, like, why not just do it with hands that are suited so you can have a little additional equity?
Good point, yeah.
You know, there's a reason, like, unless this player but if this player is that face up, their 3 betting range is probably even stronger than a theoretically correct one, and your king 10 is probably doing even worse than usual, you know?
Yeah.
So
Do you I only have one more, before we kinda get into a couple of yours. I know we've got some of them overlap in a sense, but, I'm probably the biggest reason, especially amateur players aren't running deep is tilt.
mhm.
I mean, it's just I mean, this is an obvious one. It goes without being said, but again, putting your emotion aside, your ego aside, resetting. How do you reset after a big loss, and how do you let that not affect you moving forward so that essentially in your head it never happened? And has that changed from when you first started playing till now? I know for you it's more of a difficult question because you were programmed to not, you just don't have that.
Oh
For
man.
me it was a struggle. I really had to go through the motions and put my, again, my ego aside, my emotions aside, but I feel like I've gotten to a place where I'm really comfortable taking a big beat and just acting like it never happened, stepping on to the next hand. It wasn't always that way, but it was a skill that I've built up. How did that play out for you?
Good question. I mean, it evolves over time. I certainly remember man, was I telling you I think it was someone else. The first time I went to running aces, I was 21 years old. I fired a 350, which was probably I mean, forget
Half your
bankroll, like,
paycheck.
it was well, I was in college, so it was, like, probably 10% of my total money
Yep.
was 1 bullet in this tournament.
Good
I
bankroll
actually
management.
I actually make day 2, and it was, like, 18 cash, 23 left, and, like, 8 or 9K up top. It was a weird two-day tournament,
I
like,
was gonna say I
rather
don't
small,
remember tournaments like these at Aces.
but
Oh wait,
yeah,
this is like one of their signature series?
I don't know, it was in 2016. I mean, it
Okay.
was maybe a bit smaller than
Forgot. I thought you weren't even born yet.
yeah, no, I mean, they let me in despite the whole diapers thing. Um, I could already grow a little facial hair at that age,
You
so
came out
they
of the
didn't
womb
check.
with facial hair.
Pretty much. So, very I remember I was driving there, got there, sat down. I decided to bring actually, no, I had headphones day 1 too, whatever. So 23 left, 18 pay. I have a little bit below average, but I have, like, 25, 26 bigs. Anyways, first hand, I get jacks on the button. I think it was actually Chris Wallace,
Yep,
Fox.
Fox, yep. He's a
He
10K
I'd played with
horse
him on
WSOP bracelet winner, old Minnesota legend.
yeah, so I'd actually played with him on day 1, talked with him a bit. Anyways, he opens cutoff. I'm on button. I 3-bet jacks, get called. I remember it was like it was yesterday. 9, 7, 3, 2 hearts. He checks. I bet. He jams. I call. He has pocket eights. Turn 9, and then just that 8 of diamonds on the river, and my soul just is crushed.
Well,
And
and being like your first significant event, it just sticks even more, I'm sure.
my first I'd had one before that I saddied into
Yeah.
where it was a 5, and I made day 2 as well, but also didn't cash because I flopped a set and I slow played it and got it in versus bottom pair in a straight draw, and then, I think it was John Morgan who he rivered the straight on me, and, um,
You're just
I
broke,
like
he's a billionaire, and he still wins all the chips.
yeah, and I didn't know who he was, and he was nice about it, whatever, but, like, those 2 beats I remember stuck with me, and this Jax one at Running Aces, I remember I was, like, just I went out into the car, like, literally one hand and I'm done, and I punch the steering wheel. I'm just, like, so pissed off.
I
Like,
love seeing that or hearing that from you because it's like you're so emotionally collected now that I would never see that from you nowadays.
yeah, yeah, and
Do you think that
I
would have affected your play then if you were still in the tournament, if you didn't lose all your chips?
a little bit. I've always found that in tournaments, it's a little easier because you sort of just have to you're in a spot where it's like, "Okay, well, I can't stand up and take a break or I'll get blinded out." I kinda I have these chips, I still have to play them. I think it's maybe not what happens within the one tournament, but it can be a streak of things where you get, let's say you bubble a couple events or you feel like you bust a bit before day 2 a lot, whatever it might be.
I feel that
You know,
way lately.
you finish your deep runs end before the final table. I think as over time you've had a few of these kind of pile up, that's when it can sort of get into your head the next time, right?
Yeah, yeah. You're just
I
kinda
will
letting it
say,
build up and build up and build up and build up.
yeah, I will say there was a time, in these multi-day tournaments, I had several runs where I back when they didn't automatically pay day 2, I would say, like, 5 of my first 7 day 2s, I didn't cash or something, and
Mhm.
that kinda stuck with me, and I remember my first I'd only played 3 MSPTs, but on my 4th one, I made day 2, and I remember I was all in with aces versus nines a few hands before or a few players before the bubble,
This is when
and
you
the
weren't in the money on day 2 immediately.
correct, I remember it was like a he turned an open ender, and I was like, "Oh my god, no," and I held, and so, by the way, I went on to get 3rd. This was, 4 years ago in Riverside, but
Yeah, this is kind of what propelled your deciding to move forward as a professional. I remember that.
yeah, and I think my nerves revolved so much around bubbling that tournament because once we were in the money, it was like I hadn't cashed an
Now I can
1,100
play
yet.
poker.
Yes, yeah, and so you kinda just have to force your obviously, I was gonna play aces correctly pre-flop, like that it was a very easy one to play correctly, but it can be tough to be in those spots where you feel like you've gotten coolered, sucked out on, and I think the way to sort of fix is just study those spots because you wanna give first off, studying is always a good idea, right? But
Yeah.
it also just helps your brain focus on something else.
You know what my old woodshop teacher used to say? The 5
Hmm,
Ps. Did you ever hear
okay.
these?
I'm gonna
Proper
guess 1 is patience.
no. Proper preparation prevents poor performance.
Oh, yeah. I think you may have mentioned that before, but
He would say that every single day. Proper preparation prevents poor performance.
that sounds like one of those sayings that, your grandpa tells you. It's like, I mean, you're gonna get to grandpa status soon here, so
Yeah, probably not too long.
but, yeah, that's a great way to put it. Like, studying not only improves the level at which you can play, but it helps your brain focus on the right things. And
Yeah.
so even there'll be times when it's not even like I'm studying to learn a ton of new stuff, but before an online session, if I just like look up some spots or even watching like a Triton final table.
It helps in more than just even if you don't run into those specific spots, it does a few things. It gets you motivated, which will help
Mhm.
you in turn make better decisions in the moment. And then it just gets your brain wired into the moment so you're just more in the moment. You're more into flow. You enter flow state easier as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, I want to give one tip that I think would and this is primarily to newer players and intermediate players, but one tip that the best tip I can give you, literally the best tip I can give you is, and let me try not slaughter how I word this, but do not get upset over the things that are out of your control, the beats that are out of control. Rather get upset with yourself over the things that are within your control. If you're making
Yeah.
mistakes and recognize them, and you can get upset about them, don't obviously let it affect your play, but like you need to be able to get angry at yourself for the mistakes you made and not get angry over the things that are out of your control.
Yeah, actually recently I've been not even get angry about it. Just like be like, okay, Wes, you might have botched that one. That's all right. You're
Yeah,
human.
maybe
Like,
I shouldn't say get angry at yourself. That's definitely not the
yeah,
right way to look at it. But if you're going to get angry, don't get
yeah,
angry at someone else for something that's completely out of your control. You got it in. So, for example, you smashed your steering wheel after that 2016 or whatever it was. After
yeah.
getting your jacks cracked by eights, you got it in good, dude.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, I gave myself
that
a great spot.
the fact that the eight came on the river is out of your control. So all you can do is get yourself in that spot as many times as possible. You'll be a good player. You'll be a profitable winning player. But that's out of your control. Get now, for example, say he jammed and you just folded your jacks and he shows eights. Maybe you should start getting a little upset about at
Mhm.
yourself. You know what I mean? I guess that's kind of where my point lies.
Definitely, definitely. That actually kind of leads into my next point.
All right.
kind of the main one I was gonna bring up is your bankroll management slash your volume, right?
Mhm.
And so if we look back at this tournament, that example, the reason for me that affected me so much is because winning that tournament, I don't even, it was like 8 or 9K up top. Winning that tournament or even getting like a 4 or 3K score, like heck, even cashing for 8 or 900 bucks was like a solid win for me back then.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas, I had played some 2 100, so I had lost a few $100 before, but I had put myself in a situation where this one buy-in of one tournament meant so much to me. And
I've been there as well. And I know
totally.
probably everybody who's played poker has.
Yeah, we've all for sure been there. And having such a high level of weight on a tournament, it can just make your emotions go a little out of control, right?
For sure. Yep.
Now, I know most of our listeners are not playing professionally, but even from a financial standpoint of what live tournaments you're going to play, be honest with yourself. Like, if you're going to be pretty frustrated with busting out of a tournament, and if it's going to be significantly more because it's a higher buy-in, maybe stick with the buy-ins on the lower end of your spectrum in terms of what you play. Obviously,
Agreed.
busting out of any tournament can be a bit frustrating, but if the buy-in is the reason that it's more frustrating, that's something to look at and also
Consider selling
recognize.
action, or if you
Yeah,
want to play that event, if you still want to play that event, like make it less financially impactful on you.
exactly, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the other thing, which is if you're not making deep runs, it can be somewhat related to volume. Um,
That's a big one for sure. Like
yeah,
poker, again, poker is not something where you can just win every tournament. I read a book where it kind of related it to a professional baseball player's batting average, where like
yeah.
even the best in the world are swinging. Well, maybe it's increased now, but from when I read it, it was like 3 out of 10 times at bat they would hit a bat. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
they would get a hit.
they'd
What
get it.
if you get a hit, on base 3 out of 10 times?
You're in
For
the
the
upper echelon,
non-baseball
right?
players, a hit counts as when you hit the ball and get on base, and it's not the fielder's fault. 3 out of 10 is amazing, like, you're an incredible hitter,
Yeah. But
and
just think that's 7 times they essentially fail.
yeah, and by the way, most of their hits are still gonna be singles,
Yeah.
so you could look at tournaments that way where it's like, you're mostly going to lose, and even when you win, a lot of them will be maybe not min cashes, but rather small and not super significant caches, like,
Mhm.
you will not. Yes, there's always gonna be a person or 2 in the community that's, like, final tabled or won a bunch of stuff recently, but even if you look at their whole career, they're gonna have streaks of I mean, look, I would point to someone like Blake who.
Literally, that I knew you were gonna say Blake. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, he was playing everything, he was winning everything, and now it's been a while since he's had a score. But also, I'm sure his volume is decreased as well, which is kind of part of your point.
A bit, yeah, but he had a huge streak where he was literally getting a lot of firsts plus a
Yeah.
few more final tables,
Yeah.
and then not and even that same year, like 2023, that's the year I crushed it the hardest. Last year, I did not. I had a bad year in live tournaments last year, and this year I had been very slightly down until the final table, the other weekend. And by the way, Ian, and I think Ian's crushed overall, but it's like he had a World Series where he literally won the Player of the Year banner,
Yep.
and I think in 24 he had a pretty rough World Series. So it's like people you'll remember those times when a certain player is crushing it or
Mhm.
something, but
Mhm.
even they will have times where they're just losing.
Even as the
And
best players. So yeah,
yeah,
great point.
and
Volume, guys. If you want to know why you're not running deep, it's because oftentimes you're not putting in enough volume. You put enough volume, you're going to get deep runs.
for
But
sure. And
but
that's
if
not
you
to
but,
say.
but if you implement all the things we've discussed, you improve your chances of making those deep runs more frequently.
Exactly, and obviously, over time, anyone can make a deep run. A lot, most players are not gonna be winning money, and that's another thing too, is this game is hard to win money at in the long term. There's rake and yeah, like, it's hard to be a player who's winning,
And a lot of good
like
players too now compared to like
yeah,
2000.
it's hard to profit in the long run in this sort of game, and a lot of it, you're probably it goes back to what we said last episode, maybe focus a little bit more on the fundamentals. Also, like we said this episode, just do a little study here and there, yes, to get better, but also to just get your head in the right
I mean, if
space.
you're listening to us right now, this is considered study. You're trying to improve your game, and this is you're doing the right thing. You're taking steps forward, not just by listening
Mhm,
to this podcast, but by trying to understand poker better, which we're trying to help you do.
mhm, yeah.
What other topic? Do you have any other topics before we wrap up?
The volume and bankroll one was a big one for today. I think
We still do have one more episode. I mean, we could probably do 30 more episodes. There's so many topics that you can really touch on. But
yeah.
yeah. Did you have any other ones you wanted to say for the last episode, or any other ones you wanted to use on this one?
I guess if there's one that we could talk about in this one, it is, and it really is what we've been talking about, but, like, playing too splashy early on and then, like, it it just it really goes with what we said last time about optimizing for the min cash, where maybe, like, you tighten up when there's money involved. So I actually don't know if we need to
Yeah,
dive
no,
back
but your
into that
point
too much.
essentially is knowing when to be aggressive and when to tighten up and being able to adjust gears. Maybe adjusting gears is the correct way to go about it, but that's something we'll save for the next one. I feel like we can really go into depth in that and discuss like how we adjust gears from the different stages of the tournament and how that can help you, make deeper runs. So,
Yeah, and I think also looking at it as the reason we're adjusting gears is not because that's optimal strategy from a theory perspective. It's because a lot of players sort of subconsciously adjust in the way we said, where they're too loose early and too tight late.
yeah.
I think also just, man, I know there are plenty of people out there who are, you haven't looked at pre-flop charts, or you haven't done, I'm not saying you have to do hardcore solver work, but just look at some pre-flop charts at a bunch of different stack depths. Maybe try and look at some ICM pre-flop charts,
Someone
like
asked
final
me,
table.
said they're new to poker in the Discord. They stepped in. They said, "Hey, I'm new to poker. I want to get better at both cash and tournaments. Where do I start?" And the answer is pre-flop.
Yep.
If you start pre-flop, it's where you're going to see the most hands. It's where you're going to build your skill tree from, and then you can work to flop to turn to river. Post-flop action. But go in that order. You're going to see the most flops. Then you're going to see, secondly, you're going to see the most pre-flop hands, and then you're
Mhm.
going to see flops second most, turns third most, and obviously rivers fourth most. So
Yeah, that's a great point. And also, to go off of that, like when I study cash games, if I go on GTO Wizard and study, I will look at a lot of big blind versus small blind three bet, cutoff versus button, cutoff versus big blind. Like the later positions are the spots you're going to play the most hands. So those spots are going to come up the most. So
yep. Hmm.
study pre-flop and then flop, and then study the later positions or the blind spots that are going to be a lot more frequent. Like I don't necessarily know under the gun +2 versus hijack as well as I know button versus big blind, but button versus big blind comes up way more, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, well said. And I think that's probably a good place to start wrapping up on this episode. But just put in a little effort will go a long way. Taking time to study those, and if you do try to take it all on at once, say all of a sudden you start off by just trying to learn post flop or turn, continuate, double barrel spots, you're going to get overwhelmed. Simplify things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, if you just play the early parts decently well, it'll set you up for more reasonable decisions later in the hand. And also, I think a lot of us, myself included at times, sort of have a default assumption that we're smart enough to not, smart enough that we kind of
We
know the
think we're better than
basics.
we really are.
Yeah, we all at times think we're better than we are. And maybe the reason you're not making deep runs is there are a decent amount of players in the field who study the game really hard um
And there is. You're
yeah,
not
and
you are
then
battling good players nowadays. It's the truth. You
yeah,
want so let's go ahead, Wes. Let's summarize here.
yeah.
I did take a list so we can actually make it clear this time.
Yeah,
But
that's good. Let's review the points.
so the first one is blaming luck blocks improvement. Be honest with yourself. Set your ego aside. And also, probably most importantly, is run hands by people who are actually, I was going to say intelligent. That's probably rude. Um,
Who you think are at least as good, if not better than
that
you.
are well studied, right? And
Yeah,
actually know these answers. It's and also it's some, get a second opinion and see how they differentiate from each other, and then use your intuition to try and figure out why which plays better, or and go from there. So
yeah. Post it
secondly,
in our Discord.
yeah, Discord is a great place to. We have incredible poker players in our Discord. Make sure to join the Discord. Link in the show notes. If you're not in there yet, we have 300 plus members chatting in there, breaking down hands. It's a great place to improve your game. Make sure to check that out. But secondly, not adjusting to stack depths. Your stack equals your strategy, right? So as your stack size changes, and Wes and I, we don't look at I'm below starting stack. Sometimes I'll think, oh, I got 4 starting stacks. This is a good stack to get into the money with. I'll have that thought, but I don't let my strategy depend based on that.
Yeah, it's based on big blinds.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but not adjusting to stack depth. As you get shorter, your strategy changes. As your stack builds, your strategy changes, and learning how to play those different strategies. And we have many different episodes that you can go through where you can improve your game based on specific amounts of big blinds. We have 20 big blind episodes, 30 big blind episodes, going all the way up. So make sure to check those out. Just dig through the history. Uh, Thirdly, playing too tight or playing too loose early and too tight late. Um, a lot of people are just super splashy pre-flop in early stage tournaments, and it's unnecessary. Oftentimes the pots have not much value to them, and you'll end up losing way more than you need to for very little possibility, or for not a chance of making any significant change to your tournament's run.
Hmm.
So, and then obviously later in tournaments, pots are far more valuable. So, don't be too loose by any means, but it's going to be a great way for you to build a stack by not playing overly tight in those stages of the tournament. Fourthly, I have the letting one mistake snowball into many, letting your mistakes compound. You make a bad call pre-flop, and all of a sudden you flop second pair. I mean, there's a million instances. This is just the one we gave, but recognizing your mistake before it compounds into 3 mistakes costing you your whole stack. Sometimes,
Hmm.
even, and you say you flop something, it's okay to sometimes just let it go. If for example, on the ace 10 deuce flop I gave earlier, we know our opponent's just going to range just consist of all these hands that beat us. And we do have second pair now, but it's like, you know what? I know I'm beat here a lot. I made a mistake calling pre-flop. Let me just minimize this mistake and move on and find better spots. Agree with
Yeah,
that, Wes?
agreed.
Okay. If you didn't, I was going to call you an idiot, but
You might do that anyways.
idiot. And then fifth, we have bankroll and volume. This is one Wes brought up. If you're not making deep runs, it could simply because you don't have a lot of volume. Anyone can make a deep run in poker. You're going to make more deep runs based on how many tournaments you play. It's just math, right? And
Hmm.
the strategies that we help, provide to you guys in this content, the strategies that you learn amongst all the other content available to you, is going to just help the percentage chance of you making deep runs more frequently. It's a very odd way to word that, but it makes sense.
Correct, though.
Yeah. Now, and then lastly, maybe I'm missing one in there somewhere, but don't tilt over things that are out of your control. You know, you're sometimes you're just going to get beat, and it's okay to, to be frustrated. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've taken some bad beats where it was inevitable, and I've gone home and I've been pissed. It is the way it is. But if you recognize like, hey, this is the spot I need to put myself in to be a successful player. If that rings true, then it's like it's easier to get away from the anger of it. Now, it's if you actually are making true mistakes, it's okay to be upset with yourself over that, because use that as motivation to start then improving your game and studying.
Yeah, and the last one is you
Play Wes
probably don't
heads up.
study enough. Yeah, play me heads up, high stakes. No, the last one, yeah, just you probably don't study enough. That could
Yeah.
go for any of us.
Yeah. And studying looks different to different people. Wes is a very analytical person, and there's, I'm not hiding any of the fact that he has studied a lot more in theory than I have. Pre-flop ranges, stuff like that. A lot of my studying comes from intuition, watching players and things like that. It's the way I enjoy poker. I also don't do it strictly for a living, whereas Wes does. And I think it's more important to take Wes's route if you decide to play poker for a living, because every little nuance can give you an edge, and you really want to take full advantage of all those spots. So, with that being said,
Totally.
I'm a realtor by profession. If you guys want to buy or sell any
There we
houses,
go.
holler at your boy. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. There will be a third part to this. This has been an insightful reminder for me, and I'm sure you as well, Wes. And I think it's important to just be real with yourself. I think that's the most important thing in poker. Be honest with
Yeah.
yourself and surround yourself with people who
I
are great.
will say there is a time earlier this year where I remember I was tilted. I got like 8th in the tournament. I was like pissed, and you're like, dude, get it together. And I remember I was like, yeah, you're right. You're right. Like,
Good for you though for just like manning up. Yeah,
yeah,
and get that ego out of the way sometimes. You know what I mean? We're all guilty of it. We're humans. It's part of it, and I think that's what makes poker special as well. Imagine if we're all just robots playing against other robots, perfect poker all the time. It'd be just terribly boring. We love the
yeah.
fact that there's exploits and
Yeah. I mean, all of us, not to get back into it, but all of us will tilt, whether it's winners tilt. It's not always like the rage. Sometimes it is winners tilt, or it's just anything that sort of gets you off of your baseline game. Sort of
it's when
just
your
acknowledge
emotions
that.
become involved.
Yeah.
Maybe, I guess,
Yep.
in a sense. I guess that's one way to put it. But yeah, guys, again, hope you enjoyed this episode. Please take a look through the show notes. We have a ton of awesome ways for you to improve your game in there. Number one being our Patreon. If you enjoy the way that Wes and I teach, go ahead and check
Cheat?
out our cheat. The
Sounded
way
like you were
Wes and I
gonna say cheat.
teach. Is teach cheat kind of backwards in a sense? I guess not quite, but close. Yeah, check out our Patreon. $15 a month helps support the podcast. We put out a ton of content. There's 30 plus videos, I think, on there right now. It's a great way for you to improve your game, and there will be more content releasing on there. We will be doing specific episodes only for Patreon content coming up soon here. If you guys haven't, had the chance to check out our merch yet, we did do a collaboration with Tilted Compass. Make sure to check out their website again. Links in the show notes. We have incredibly comfortable hoodies, all that good stuff. And winter's around the corner, so gear
You're
up,
gonna
right?
need them. You're gonna
Yeah,
need
for
them.
sure. Gear up, gear up. So make sure to check that out. Wes is currently we've been playing a ton of live lately. So his current 10K to 100K bankroll challenge it's not stopped moving, but it's in slow motion as we continue to get through the live season here.
It is, yeah. And honestly, for the first time, I really just haven't felt like streaming as much.
Yeah.
So
And I
kind of
and
is
I
what it is.
and I kind of told you, it's like if you're not feeling something, take a break from it. It's okay to
Yeah,
take breaks. I love taking breaks because what it does is it invigorates your hunger. It's that,
it does. Yeah, yeah.
it makes you hungry again. And that's what you need if you really want to be successful in something. You need to be passionate and motivated. So take that with, just try and digest that. And anything else I'm missing here? Oh, yeah. Shout
Yeah,
out, by the way, to our meetup game winner. His name is Ruble something. I don't know if he's a Discord member or a listener. I don't even know, but I'm
yeah.
not familiar. Shout out to him. Shout out to second place, Jake Ingebretson. I'm sorry if I slaughtered your name. I'm terrible at names. Um, he's a Minnesota crusher as well, and I think it was his first time joining the mug. So shout out to him. We had a
Yeah,
nice big
congrats.
turnout. I don't even know how
We
much was up
did.
top. It was like probably somewhere around 600, 700s.
Yeah, it was still a similar amount. It was just more places got paid, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was good though. I mean, I dusted 4 bullets, so that wasn't as fun, but
I only had one bullet. I couldn't believe it.
you had a pile for quite a while.
And then
A pile for quite a while.
and then I turned the nut flush blocker into a punt and got called by top pair for a pile.
Well,
And ended up
y
softballing.
y
But you know what? That's again, the
you
meetup
did your
game is
best.
my safe place, Wes. It's where I can punt
Exactly.
and just not feel guilty
Yeah.
about it. So and all of you
One
guys
more
can too.
yeah, one more thing I wanted to mention. If you guys if you have not done so yet, we'd really appreciate if you like our content, give us a rating, hopefully 5 stars on whatever platform you're on.
Definitely.
If you
Fair
can
point.
subscribe to our YouTube, follow us on Spotify, um, you know, on Twitter when we post our new episodes, like, repost those, all that stuff, is obviously free for you guys, but it does really help us, and we are looking to grow the podcast, get ourselves out there. We have grown over time, but we're really looking to expand our horizons here, get to more ears, and so we really do appreciate all that stuff.
Well
So,
said, Wes. I'm just proud of you.
thank you.
No, but you're
If
right.
you if you don't do that stuff, you are genuinely dead to us. So,
And we will 3-bet you relentlessly.
we will, except we won't, because that would be a form of tilt.
Oh, okay. You're right. You're right. And that's
Yeah,
what we said to not do in this episode. Oh my
correct.
God. God. Guys, hope you enjoy your weekend. If you're playing online, if you're playing live, hope you crush it on the felt. Unless it's against Wes and I, because we'll be at the MSPT Riverside this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
I hope that you and I make it. Can we get heads up in an MSPT this weekend? That would
You
be
and I are granted, we did get heads up in the first ever Clubs Poker Meetup game. That's the only time I think we've been heads up for a tournament.
Let's change that, man. I would love
Yeah,
that.
we're
So,
we're due to at least be at the same final table in a live tournament.
all right, my friends. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and we will catch you next week with another episode.